Hey guys, I am Future Zone. We're going to do another one of these videos where I've compiled a few videos together and shortened them up a little. Hope you guys enjoy it, and I'll see you guys in the near future. Okay guys, we're going to make some characters for original old school D&D. Alright guys, I got my dice out here. As you can see, I'm going to go ahead and roll some characters up real quick. Original old D&D, you did it with 3d6 and you did it in order. Now, this here happens to be a couple Christmas gifts all together over a couple years, actually. You can see I got me a super fancy case here, and that weight is not that of a normal dice set. That is actually a set of the heavy metal dice for D&D, and this is two sets plus two 10-piece sets, and then two of the D6 sets. And you might ask, well, Zone, why would you do that? Well, that's why. Now I got me a 10 dice fireball in my thing, and I can go ahead and roll that out. I think that's pretty cool, personally. So that's why you do it. Let's go ahead and do this. We got 3d6. We're going to go ahead and give this some rolls. All right, I'm going to go ahead and roll over here so you can see the rolls. So that is a 6, because there's the 1. So that is an 11. So back in this day, they had strength, dex, if I'm right, int, wisdom, con, and charisma. So this first one is an 11. Next up is going to be dexterity. This is an 11 again. Here's a 12. We have a very average stat character. Ah, here we go. Finally, something with good. This would probably be a good cleric, in my guess. So we have a 15 wisdom cleric for sure. Let's see what your con is and what your charisma is. So your constitution is a 9. So again, we're looking at the low side of average, but that's average. That's a minimum stat in some versions of D&D for dwarf. And we have a 9 charisma. Absolutely cleric. Alright, next character. Alright, we're going to start off with a 13. That's decent. Alright, here we go. So we don't quite have... We're getting to the stuff. This is a 14, but that's a 14 agility or dexterity. That's pretty nice. So we have a 13 strength and a 14 dexterity. That could be a couple things. We have a low intelligence. So this is, well, not low. I guess that's average. We have, again, average for wisdom. Hopefully get some con bonus here. No, we did not. We are suffering negatives. I do believe I see you ranged in your future. Ah, but we have a decent charisma. 13 charisma. I see this as a thief. Okay. Third roll. Oh! An 18. Wow. Okay, for strength, I'm guessing that will be a fighter or dwarf or something. Huh. All right. 18. Well, let's hope the dex is good. We're going to go with that. Oh, come on, big physical stats. Nope. 8. Okay. Bit of a glass cannon as far as AC goes. Let's see how intelligence is. Not really worried about intelligence. Now, of course, we got an 11 there. So stats in original Dungeons and Dragons were not as important. However, an 18 in strength for any sort of melee was more significant than really an 18 anywhere else except for maybe con. Oh, is wisdom. 14 wisdom. Interesting. 14 wisdom. This is the big one. Of course not. 6. This is absolutely a glass cannon with low charisma. So this would be a fighter. All right. Last but not least, this is a 9. That is an 11. The 7. Wow. All right. Well, high dex, high stats, an 11. Womp, womp, womp. Wisdom of a 12. All right. Cleric, maybe? Do we need really another cleric? Wow, a 6 con. My highest con is a 9. And then we have a 10. Okay, guys, so here's the problem. This last character, his best stat would be a cleric. I don't really want 2 clerics. I am going to run some dungeon stuff. So I'm going to make him a cleric. But I'm going to go ahead and change this first one to a dwarf. Now, why would I have a 15 for that and then go with a dwarf? I don't want 2 clerics, really. There isn't a whole lot of difference. For example, this is just an XP bonus at this level. You don't get bonus spells. You don't get bonus. There's not really a huge reason to have that 15 there. It's not like it affects a whole lot. Having a 12 is at least something. This last character is just terrible. Yeah. But having a dwarf in the party gives you a second melee. This fourth character would be really just a real weak melee of some nature, like a halfling or maybe a fighter. I don't think he can qualify for anything else. None of the characters I have can qualify for a mage for an elf, for example. You'll see what I'm saying. And I'll go ahead and play a game with this, and we'll see how this works out to kind of give you a feel for things. Okay, guys, so as you can see here, I've got my original character sheet, where I write down the stats. And now I'm going to go ahead and try and get this onto what would be like a character sheet. Back in the day, they didn't have actual character sheets. They went with just regular sheet paper, and you wrote your stats down. So I've got the basic things you need to know there, and I'm going to go ahead and do that in pencil. They didn't have necessarily mechanical pencils back in the day, but they recommended a number 2 pencil, which this would be the same type of lead. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and talk about where I want to go with this. I'm going to put up some slides. Okay, so we have an area of the book called Explanation of Abilities. I'm going to talk more about this when I go into the actual OD&D, original D&D. But you can see here, it's based upon the class you are and the class and your prime requisite. Dwarves, elves, and fighters are all going to have prime requisites of strength. And then elves and magic users are going to have prime requisites of intelligence. Clerics have prime requisites for wisdom. Okay, so there are 6 stats, but really you can only move the stats around the first 3. There really isn't more to that. And as you can see here, there is no thief. I ended up having to, and their slip of the memory, I guess you could say. I knew that thieves were in original OD&D, but they were not in the original core 3 books. And I should have stated that prior, that I'd be willing to use characters from outside the original 3 books to be more clear. But I am going to use a thief, and that is pulled from the Supplement 1 Greyhawk book. Okay, so let's go ahead and look into this. The first character, the dwarf, he has a strength of 11. Now his prime requisite is going to be strength. They get bonus XP for having a higher strength. They also get some bonus XP, or not bonus XP, they get some bonus stats for having a higher strength. So when you get to a 13 to 15 strength, you get +1 to hit. If you have a 16, you get +1 to damage. And then it goes up to like 17 and 18 and yada, yada, yada. And eventually, if you're a fighter, which a dwarf would be considered a fighter, so would an elf, you actually can have percentile strength, which didn't come out initially. That was a thing, again, that came out in the supplements after. Pure original Dungeons & Dragons, you did not have percentile. Most people think, though, that percentiles didn't come out until AD&D. I literally thought that until here recently when I saw it, and I was like, holy cow. Okay, so now we know that we're going to try and move its strength up to a 15 so I can get that bonus XP. Okay, so looking at my notes here. So I can trade strength here 3 for 1 for the primary wisdom. Okay, I can trade intelligence here for fighters and clerics can use their prime requisite areas of strength and wisdom respectively on a 2 for 1 basis. Okay, so if I were to go ahead and take its intelligence to a 10, I can move its strength to a 12. Okay? If I were to go ahead and take its intelligence to an 8, I can move its strength to a 13. Well, that's pretty solid. Let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to make that 8, and we're going to make that a 13. Okay, now let's go down here to wisdom. Okay, it may be wisdom may be used on a 3 for 1 basis by fighters and by a 2 for 1 basis on magic users. So we're talking about fighters currently, because we're talking about dwarves. So again, we're talking about a 2 for 1, or a 3 for 1, excuse me. So if I were to take it down to a 12 wisdom, that would bring it to a 14 strength. And if I were to go to a 9 wisdom, that would bring it to a 15 strength. So even though this character rolled stats in order, and even though it was basically a solid cleric, it doesn't look like it's a terrible dwarf. Alright, so with a 15 strength, I get +1 to hit. I get my XP bonus. Very nice. Okay. What do I lose from the intelligence dropping from a 12 to an 8? The rules are kind of vague in this area, but essentially you lose bonus languages. So I don't have the ability to be as well versed in language as I am. I'm not illiterate. I don't know. It's not like I don't know anything outside of dwarf. I just don't necessarily know like the bonuses of languages. I think I would know dwarf and common. I probably wouldn't know elf, probably wouldn't know goblin, so on and so on. Those would come at like 10 and higher levels. Okay, so wisdom. What do you lose from going from a 15 wisdom to a 9 wisdom? Actually, absolutely nothing. There's no stat benefits for a dwarf, a cleric, or anything, except for if you're a cleric, you lose your XP bonus. Where it would hurt you is if you're ever asked to roll below your stat, which is a way some tests are done. You now have 6 less stat points to roll under. So, but you have gained them in strength, and you're probably going to do more strength-based things than you are wisdom-based things. So I feel like this is a good version of it. So let me go ahead and write this down. All right, so while I was away, I thought about names, and this guy is going to be a male. I'm going to put that up here. And he's going to be named Stiggoth. S-T-I, oops, no L. G-G-U-T-H. And we're going to go with something dwarven like copper axe. Get a little cheesy with it. So we have Stiggoth copper axe. class dwarf fighter. Now I'm going to make this distinction here that he's both a dwarf and he's a fighter. All dwarves are fighters, not all fighters are dwarves. This is not actually class as race or race as class yet. That is actually in a later edition of the game. Believe it or not. Okay, so now we have a 15 strength. Give me +1, +0. Okay, we have a dexterity of 11. Gives +0. We have an 8 intelligence, which gives us nothing. We have a 9 wisdom, which gives us nothing. We have a 9 con, which is +0 to hit points. Let me look up something real quick here. Okay, so a 9 on constitution is absolutely the minimum for this bracket, but you get a 60 to 90% chance of survival. So I'm assuming that's supposed to be 60. So I'm going to put 60% here. That is like in modern day, we call it like system shock. You get, you were killed, you're brought back from the dead, you have a 60% chance of surviving that. You have, you're turned to stone, you're brought back from stone, you have a 60% chance of surviving that, so on and so on. If you have over a 14, it's considered to be withstand adversity, whatever that might mean. Okay, so prime requisites. If you have a 15 or more in your prime requisite, in this case strength, you get a 10% XP bonus. So I'm going to put XP down here. I'm going to put plus 10% because that's what he has. All right. Now he has a 9. What is it? Is that right? Yes, he has a 9 charisma. This means he has a max hireling of 3. And he has no bonus for loyalty. Now let's go ahead and take a look at saves. So dwarves are considered fighters at 4 levels higher. So a first level fighter would be a 5th level dwarf. Or a first level dwarf would be a 5th level fighter. 5th level fighter is in this second bracket here. So that's going to be a 10. And then we have an 11. Then we have a 12. We have a 13. And we have a 14. Versus the 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay. So a big difference. So Thaco is going to be a 19. Thaco stands to hit armor class 0. All characters will have a Thaco. We'll get to armor class in a second. Hit points are going to be a D8. Let me go ahead and roll that real quickly. I need a good roll here. I am going to re-roll ones, just so you know. Ooh, there we go. That is an 8. You can see there is the... Where's that? There is no other 8. There's a 1, and that's the 8. So this is an 8. So max hit points is extremely important, considering I don't have Constitution as a very high stat for the rest of my characters. All right, so open doors. Okay, so it doesn't really get into it exactly. You have to actually go all the way over to book 3, as you can see here, to get into opening doors. Everyone has basically a 1 in 2 chance. They do suggest that smaller characters, maybe halflings, could only do it on 1 in 6 chance. A dwarf gets a bonus to... They note slanted passages, traps, shifting walls, and new construction in underground settings. So hear noise. Dwarves don't have any special benefit for that. So they're going to be a 2 in 6 chance. Secret door. So yes and no. Well, it's probably the same as an elf. As is very common in this version of the game, you run into contradictions. Okay, so it says here in number 3, they note slanting passages, trapping, shifting walls, and new construction in underground settings, but it doesn't give any statistics. When you go over to secret passages, it says that secret passages will be located on a roll of 1 or 2 on a d6 by men, dwarves, and halflings. Elves will be able to locate them on a 1d4. It very clearly says that they are found on a 1 or 2 by men, dwarves, and halflings. But I would think, coming back over here, they note the slanting passages, traps, shifting walls, and new construction in underground settings. I would assume that is a 1 on a d4 and 4. So 1 and 4 when you're dealing with stone stuff. Shifting walls, new construction, that type of stuff. Shifting wall on wood, dwarves don't get the benefit. Okay. They're able to speak gnome, kobold, goblin, in addition to the usual tongues. So they say that because you're able to see this, you can still speak gnome, goblin, and kobold in addition. So I probably will put over here languages. They speak common, dwarf, and I'm going to give him 1 less of these. I'm going to have him speak gnome and goblin, just so we have some representation of a lower intelligence, a cost, shall we say. Okay, so starting gold is 3d6 times 10. Okay, so here's my 3d6. So I have a total of 90 coins. So, starting with 90, now we're going to come over here to gear. Okay, so for this purpose, I'm not going to do all the gear. I'm going to do that off screen a little bit. But we're going to go ahead and get this basically up. So we have we're going to go to chainmail. Okay, which will drop me to like AC 5, I want to say. We're going to go with a shield. Okay, so we got a hand axe. Hand axe is going to be +1, and it's going to do a d6 damage. Hand axe only costs 3 gold. Shield is 10, and chainmail is 30. So he will have spent 43 gold already, leaving him with 47. And he hasn't really bought anything yet. Still needs rope, sacks, pittons, hammer, that type of stuff. Torches, food. Yeah, we'll get to that. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know what's going on with my camera here. As soon as I Alt-Tab out of it, it's like it locks it all up. It's very confusing to me. Also, you can see I'm in the same room, and one camera is very brighter than the other. So I don't know what I'm going to do about that either. Okay, so let me come over here real quick. Um, we have a hand axe. Does a +1 to hit, d6 damage. We have chainmail. We have shield. We have that. So, at risk of freezing up that one camera again. Okay, so chainmail is a 5. Shield brings it to a 4. Some people might ask, why do you go down versus up like you do in current editions of the game? This actually has a lot to do with the original concept of the founders. Their first game they made before Dungeons and Dragons, Dave Arneson and Gary Gygax, was called Don't Give Up the Ship. So, lower armor classes and that, because of class 2, class 1, you get the general idea. That is probably why they chose to go down versus up. But it'll be AC 4. Now, what does that mean? If he wants to hit himself, what does he have to roll? Well, okay, so the way you'd figure that out is he has a THAC0 of 19. That means that if he rolls a THAC0 of 19, he hits armor class 0. So if he rolls an 18, he hits armor class 1. If he rolls a 17, that's armor class 2. If he hits armor class of 3, he rolls a 16, and 15 gives you a 4. So he has to roll a 15 on the dice to hit himself. Gives you an idea. Well, he's got +1, so he needs a 14. But yes, that is how hard it is for a mob or a creature to hit him, essentially. Okay, I'm going to finish out the rest of this off camera, but you'll see it when he comes back on. One character done. All right, next character. Here's just my little notes over here slid into frame. That's unfortunate. Next character is going to be the Thief. Okay. And you can see here, this is his starting stats. Now again, we only have a 14 in dexterity. Thieves are in the original 3 books, so you have to go outside of them to find what their prime requisite is and how to increase it. Thieves are very specific because it takes 2 stats to raise dexterity by 1. So in this case, you have to lower the intelligence by 2 and the wisdom by 1 to get 1 point of dexterity. Okay, so let me go ahead and do that, because for sure we're doing that. All right, so if I wanted to do it again and go to a 16, which could have value, I would need a 6 intelligence. I don't want to do that. And 9 wisdom is whatever, but it's still the formula you have. Now, luckily, a 7 con means you don't have negatives. We'll save that for later. So we're going to have a 13 strength. Remember, 13 strength gives you a +1 to hit. Dexterity of 15. Okay, so in this version of the game, having a dexterity of 12 or higher gives you +1 to ranged attacks. So this is actually going to affect my... No, it will not affect my dwarf. But it will affect my thief. So he will have +1 to range. And there apparently is no bonus to initiative. So we'll keep that in mind. Intelligence is going to be an 8. Again, no negatives, no whatevers. Wisdom of a 9. Again, that's going to be +0. Constitution of 7. Barely stays within the +0 range. Very close to getting a -1. Now, a charisma of 13. Very different thing. Okay, so a charisma of 13 gives a loyalty, or 5 henchmen with a loyalty rating of +1. So there will be more likely to have people follow in that situation. So, very confused by this. I don't apparently see any specific saves for thief. I'm going to have to research that. So for right now, I'm going to leave that blank. Okay, find traps again is not something we're doing in this edition of the game. Open doors. We have it in a 1 or 2. Hear noise currently is a 1 or 2. But that is an ability that goes up with thieves. Thieves is one of those things, and I'm going to do a video talking specifically about thieves probably. But this is a thing that they really there's a lot to thieves. This edition of the game really added a lot, and I don't think they covered everything completely. Secret door, again, they have a 1 or 2, depending on race, because you can also be an elf, you can be a dwarf, and you can be a halfling. So you expand what the demi-humans, as they're called, what they can do. Thieves only get a d4 hit points. So, here goes nothing. So, we have a 3, because that's what's on top, as you can see here. A 3. So, they have 3 hit points. Thaco is going to be a 19 again. This we're going to figure out probably going to be first level human or fighter, because it refers to them as being a man for the chainmail rules. Okay, so at 3rd level, their hear noise goes up to a 1 and 3 on a d6. But they also have, so we have XP first, plus 10%. I'm going to leave some spaces here, and I'm going to go with open locks, remove trap. And we're going to have pickpocket, move silent, hide, wow, in shadow, and they didn't have climb wall yet, or sheer surface, which is crazy to me. Okay. So, open locks is a base 15%. If you were the demi-humans, you actually have bonuses. Humans do not get any bonuses. Find or remove traps is a 10%. Then pickpocket. Ooh, wait. Or move silent. Or hide in shadows. Okay, so now we're going to run the first little bit. Or move silent or pickpockets. 1, 2, 3. It's going to be. Make sure yeah, we're good. 1, 2, 3. It's going to be pickpockets. 4, 5, and 6 would be move silent. We are a stealthy. We are not a cut purse. We are a burglar. So this will be a 20% and a 10%. And that will go up with levels. You have to go a long ways. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7, you start to get some, mid-50s. So now we have this. What else do we have over here? Oh, yes. We have our coin. So we're going to have gold, silver, copper. Yes, I know I'm leaving out platinum. I figure I'm going to redo my character sheet by the time I actually need that. Alright, here's for the 3d6. So we have 9 again. That'd be 90. Yet again. Now, I have less I need. I can't use shield. I can only use leather. So, gear. Let me move that down a space. We'll go with leather. Okay, so interestingly, they talk about the fact that climb sheer surfaces is a thing, but they don't give any of the stats for it, which is kind of crazy. Okay, so they're able to use any melee just like they are in BX, which is a very specific thing to older editions. They're only able to use swords and daggers, though, that are magic. They can't use hammers or axes and that type of stuff. That's the purview of other classes. I guess that was their way of making sure everyone got their fair shot at things. So we're going to go with leather. We're going to go with a dagger because daggers and great swords do the same damage in this game. Again, that is a later edition of the game that separates that out. And we're going to go with a short bow. Okay, so we have our dagger. I get +1 to hit from strength, and I do a d6 damage. And we have our bow. +1. We do this differently. Oh my goodness. D6. D6. Alright. I don't get strength for anything, and I don't get strength added to range attacks. So they both do a d6 damage. They both get +1 to hit. Pretty universal. Actually not a bad class. I could consider making him an elf. But then he'd be a tri-class and he would level very slowly. Thieves level fast. I want a thief to be a thief. Therefore, I don't want to do the multi-class, I guess would be how you consider. They consider it a dual class. It just comes out weird. I'll do the rest of his stuff later. Oh, name. This guy is going to be a male again. And his name's going to be Osgard. Osgar. Osgar. I'm going to do the last name of Miller. Now, why the last name of Miller? Well, that's very specific to my particular world. The Millers are often found in my world as NPCs, and they are kind of like the Smiths. You can trace them by lineage. You can find them all over the place. They're usually in establishments, bar owners, clerics, this type of stuff. So they are the Baggins of the Shire. They are the ones that go out exploring, shall we say. So let's go ahead and move on. Next up is the fighter. The fighter with an 18 strength. Now, like I said, you do get percentile. So here is, boop, 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 boop. All right, here it comes. We're looking for something in the range. Okay, 52. Well, okay, so we got 1852 as you saw. This one here is going to give +3 to hit and +3 to damage. Oh man. A normal 18 is +2 +3. So 18 slash 1 to 50 is +2 +3, just like a normal 18 strength. And 1851 to 1875 is the +3 +3. And it goes all the way up from there. Now this is, oh my gosh. So this is, I'm really sorry about this computer thing. I do not know what's going on. Why is this camera lagging? I'm so frustrated right now. Okay. So this stat is not terribly impressive, but it is impressive because of the scale of things. Frankly, Gary Gygax was known for favoring melee classes. I think you see that when you look at the fighters. The fighter is a very powerful character with the bonus of strength and damage and all that type of stuff. Mages do come up in the end, but there's a lot of love for fighters right there. First level, that bonus to hit, that bonus to damage, brutal. Okay, so let's work on character name. What is this character name? I want to make this one a female. Get ourselves a female in here. And let's go with Edith. Okay, so we have Edith the female. Another human. I'm not going to go with that. I'm going to go with Edith Lawfrick. Lawfrick is also a fairly common name in my world. So this is going to be a fighter. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and pull this over here. I can only raise strength. I already have an 18, therefore I have no prerequisites to shift around, so there's nothing there. I kind of didn't say that early, but that's what it is. So we have an 8 dexterity. Would love to have that higher. We have an 11 intelligence. We have a 14 wisdom, which will not do anything but give her a better chance to make saves. Unfortunately, we have a 6 con. That is brutal. And I have a 7 charisma. All right. If we're going to get important here, we need to get this a high hit point. All right. So I'm rolling a d8 for health, rolling a d8 for hit points. Here's for a big roll. Oh my goodness, can you believe it? Again. Wow. Okay. So, hit points would normally be 8, but I have a -1 from con, so that's actually a 7. The importance of that 7, though, is absolutely insane. All right. So we have +0. We have no bonuses. We have no bonuses. We have a -1. Oh, I gotta look up what a 7, 3, and flat. Okay, so I get +3 from damage. That's going to be a 5. A 1 to 5. One to 5 chance to open doors. Basically, she needs to roll 6 to fail. Hear noise, she's still a 1 and 2. Secret door, she's still a 1 or 2. None of that. Alright, we're going to roll. Let me get the stats real quick. Save throws. So a fighting man, in this case we'll just say a fighting person, has a 12. has a 13, has a 14, has a 15, and has a 16. So, clear difference between her and a dwarf. A dwarf has much better saves. She does not. Thaco is still going to be a 19, because everyone starts at a 19. She is going to get a XP bonus of 10%, because of her strength. And we're going to get to weapons. So we're going to go with probably, we don't have, I'll probably go spear. Or sword, maybe. I don't know. The thief can use a sword. I'll probably go spear. So I'm just going to write spear here, and I'll get to that in a second. It's going to be +3 to hit. It's going to be a d6 plus 3 damage. I'm going to give her a longbow. Which will have +0 and be a d6 damage. Because she's got a range. Those are for sure going to be things we want. Now let's go ahead and roll money. Oh, we got good. Oh my goodness. 14. That's 140 gold. Okay, so okay, so we have gear. We're going to start off with plate mail. And that's crazy. That's 50 gold. We're going to have a shield. And I want to say a spear. Is not very much. 1. So they never clearly defined what a helmet was for. I'm going to give her a helmet though. I always assumed that it was for like being able to like avoid certain types of attacks to the head type of thing. Kind of gets a little weird in the Blackmore edition, supplement 2, where it has hit locations, and that probably has more to do with that than this. But I'm going to go ahead and add a helmet just because I have the extra funds, basically. A spear is super cheap. We'll worry about the longbow later. Longbow is 40. So again, she's going to be pretty hyper-focused. So plate mail is 50. Longbow is 40. That is 90. Shield is 10. That is 100. Helmet is 10. Spear is that. So leaves her 29 gold. And mind you, she is a fighter. Oh, I never wrote down my thief's AC. So leather is AC 7. And I think... And plate mail with shield is going to be AC 2. So the thief is going to be AC 7. And she's going to be AC 2. Massive, massive difference. So, complete total thug over here. She has 29 gold. And I'll worry about the little fineries of things that she wants afterwards. Last but not least is the cleric. Now, I debated on the cleric to make him a I debated to make him a druid or not. I decided not to do that. The cleric name I went with is Brith. Byrth. Be a male. Now, Brith does not sound like any of the other ones we've had. We have had Edith, we've had Stigith for the dwarf, and Osgar for the human thief. Brith is going to be a different group of humans than the other two. And to represent that, I'm going to have a little bit different last name. Brith is going to have a last name of Lloyd. Okay, guys, so now we got Brith Lloyd, cleric. Let's go ahead and get into his stats. As you can see here, his main stat is wisdom. His primary stat is going to be wisdom. So it'd be nice if that was higher. If I could get 3 points out of that, I could get a 10% bonus to XP. So if I get 1 more point out of his wisdom, bring it to a 13, then he'll get a 5% bonus to XP versus having no bonus to XP. I don't know, looking at his stats, if I'm going to be able to get him to a 15 to get that full 10%. His stats are pretty tough. Let me take a look at what I can do here. So I can do 3 for 1 for strength. That would take my strength down to a 6, which would actually give me a -1 to hit. I could take my 7 intelligence to a 4, which would basically make me illiterate. And I can change my wisdom for wisdom. Nope, can't even do that. So I can't adjust my constitution. I can't adjust my dexterity. I can't adjust my charisma. So what that means is that I either have to take a -1 dexterity to get 5% more XP, or not, -1 to hit and damage, or keep that and just be 5% less XP. So 2,000 experience the first level means I need to get an extra 100. I don't think it's worth it. I don't know if this character is ever going to get 9th level, if it's ever going to get close to 1,000,000 XP. 1,000,000 XP, 100,000's a lot. 50,000's a lot. I guess I just have to pay for that then, and know how to go there. So we'll just keep these stats the same. So we have a 9, we have an 11. If I could change dexterity, I would, but I didn't have that in the cards back then. An intelligence of 7, we have a wisdom of 12, we have a con of 6, and a charisma of 10. All right, and that's the end of that for that group of characters. He'll have a 19 Thaco. He gets a D6 hit points. Ooh, here we go. I need something good. 5. Okay, so with a 5, that would drop down to a 4. Not overly great. So he still needs a 1 or a 2. Still needs a 1 or a 2. If his strength would have dropped down to a 6, he would have only been able to open doors on a 1. Find secret passages and all that, still going to be 1 or a 2. And this doesn't exist. We'll get to AC in a second. All right, let me take a look at save throws. Clerics, first to fourth level, get the same save throws. So we're going to start off with an 11. And we have a 12. We have an 11. We have 14. And we have a 12. So they have different saves than the melee classes do. So good to go. All right, let's go ahead and roll 3d6 to see what we got going on for coins. This is how much gold he'll start with. Man, life is just not liking this dude. He is 100 gold though. XP plus 0%. Just so I make sure I know. Not times 0. Plus 0. So we have gold. We have silver. And copper. So gear. He's going to buy some holy symbols and probably some other holy stuff. That would make sense. So I'm not going to go too heavy. I'm not going to give him plate. I'm pretty close to giving him plate, but we're not. We're going to go with chainmail. We're going to go with the shield. Mace. Since I'm not going to give him plate mail, I will give him a helm. Nice little helmet. And we know we're going to go with a leather backpack. And a wooden holy. Okay, so I'll figure out what that is in a second. His armor class though is going to be a 4. He is first level, so he has no spells. He will get spells in the future. Yes. That is still true. Even in original Dungeons & Dragons, they got 0 spells at first level. This is the last character that I'm starting out with, at least, for making for my solo campaign in original Dungeons & Dragons, OD&D. I'm going to be using the supplement books to some degree, if not completely. I don't plan to use psionics, so I don't know how much of the supplement 3 or whatever it is. Yeah, the Eldritch Wizardry. I'm not sure how much I'm going to use of that. I will use, of course, the Demigods, Heroes, and Heroes book, but I really don't see that playing much in the way of things. So I've made 4 characters already. I did those raw rules as written, as much as one can do in original Dungeons & Dragons. This book is, these group of books, I'll just say pamphlets more of, are really sort of a loose interpretation of the rules. There's a lot of conflicts between the rules, so you kind of have to pick what you count as the rules and go. One of the big things that caused AD&D first edition to come around was they wanted to do tournaments, and everyone basically played this game differently. Some were using Braunstein, some were using Outdoor Survival with Avalon Hill for like hex crawls. Some of them were using chainmail instead of a d20. Some were doing optional damage types. Some were doing optional hit point types. Lots of optional rules. So I'm going to go with sort of what fits for me and my playstyle, and we'll play it. And if you guys really feel like I should check something out, let me know in the comments. I'm glad to hear it. And we get enough people saying that'd be cool. Who knows? Maybe I'll do some sort of thing with that. Anyways, the basic idea of what we're doing is I'm going to be doing a fifth character. This one's going to be an elf. This one's going to be using an optional or different system for rolling stats. I'm still going to be doing 3d6. I'm not going to be rolling in order. I'm going to be rolling 3d6 and then assigning them to the location I want them in, and we'll kind of go from there. Okay? Cool. So let me go ahead and get everything set up, and we'll be ready to go. Okay, guys. So in this particular one, we're going to roll for an elf. I'm going to be rolling them I'm going to be rolling the stats, and then I'll pick which one goes where afterwards, keeping with the 3d6, and then the point adjustment once I get the stats rolled. All right, so we're starting off awesome. As you can see, I got me a 7. That one's better. This one here would be a 13. Okay, that would be a 9. Man, that'd be a 9. Really could use these dice to rock it off. That's a good roll. That's a really good roll. That's a 15. That's a pretty good roll. That's a 13. And that would be my 6 stats. Okay. So. I don't foresee any con bonuses, so I'm just going to put a 7 in con. I'm going to go ahead and put a 9 in charisma, as an elf probably should be fairly charismatic. I'll put a 9 in dexterity. I'll put a 13 in wisdom, a 13 in intelligence, and the 15 in strength. Okay, so now I got some stat dancing I can do here. Now, as an elf, can begin as a fighter or a magic user and can completely switch whenever they choose from adventure to adventure, but not during a single game. So they can't go back and forth in the same game, essentially. Okay, so the primary requisites for a elf is going to be strength and for intelligence. It is my opinion, because it doesn't state this clearly, whatever you're leveling as, whether it be a magic user or a fighter, that's where your prime requisite is intended to be played from. So, for example, if I was to be playing this adventure as a fighter, then my strength score affects how much bonus XP I get. If my strength is low and I don't have bonus XP, then I don't get it. If I'm a really whip smart individual, then I play as a mage, then guess what? My bonus XP will apply because I have a whip smart character that's got over 15 intelligence. So I really want both my strength and my intelligence above or at least a 15. I didn't really roll crazy high for me to be able to really lock that in, shall we say. But I did roll high enough to probably make that happen. All right. I just have to be a little bit unwise. So it's 15 intelligence or 15 strength can be only modified as a fighter by lowering your wisdom on a 3-to-1 basis or your intelligence on a 2-to-1 basis. Well, I'm not lowering my intelligence, then I don't really need my strength any higher. I don't feel. We'll check back in that, but probably not. Dexterity can't be manipulated, so it's just there. My intelligence is a 13, but that can be adjusted. So it says wisdom is a prime requisite for clerics. However, it can be used on a 3-to-1 basis for fighters for strength possible, or I could do 2-for-1 basis for magic users for their respective prime requisite in their intelligence. Okay, so if I were to take 4 points off of wisdom, bringing that down to a 9, I could bring that up to a 15 on my intelligence. That for sure I'm doing. That brings me down to a 9 wisdom. Now, let's look at what low wisdom does. There is no negative for low wisdom. Now, that'd be kind of cheesy, but let's look at what high strength does. We come over here to the Greyhawk supplement. Okay, so the difference of this is a 15 gives you +1 to hit, and a 16 gives you +1 to hit and to damage. It also means your weight allowed is increased by 50 pounds, and it means that your ability to open doors is on a 1 to 3 versus on a 1 or 2. So, I'm not going to make that decision. We're going to go ahead and go 4, 5, and 6 on a D6. We'll determine if I'm going to lower my wisdom to a 6 and be cheesy and raise my strength to a 16. All right, here's the roll. That is a 1. We are not being cheesy. We are holding at this and keeping a decent wisdom. What will that mean? Not a whole lot. It means that I probably will make a few more perception checks and whatever, because I tend to use that for perception. So, we are good. I'm going to come up with a name. I don't have one on character right now. On camera, I should say. But we'll go ahead and figure this out. So this is what we have. We have +1, +0. We have a moot point there. Mute, +0. And then we have, okay, we have 3, and then we have no loyalty bonus, because that's at 13. Okay. Now, we're going to go ahead and do open doors. Open door is going to be on a 1 or 2, because I don't have that increased strength. Hear noise is going to be on a 1 or a 2, because they don't get any benefits. Secret doors, though, is 1 and 4. Okay. Good. That is where we are. Okay, guys, so I've spent the last little bit looking to try and figure this out. Future editions of the game make it a little easier. They streamlined this aspect. Elves in original Dungeons & Dragons are not something I fully understand. The complications comes with the supplements. When dwarves were just dwarves and they couldn't be thieves, it was simple. Elves were always complicated because there were always 2 classes. But the way it was described, I went and looked outside the core books and found some forums with people who played back then. And the way it was described, there was 3 basic ways. And I'm going to choose to go this way because it makes the most amount of sense to me. So an elf is both a fighter and a magic user. At first level, they are first level fighter and first level magic user. They can choose to advance as they wish, not within the same game session, but at the essentially start of a game session, or whenever they have a downtime, they can switch between fighter or magic user. If they're a fighter, they don't get spells. They get their melee stuff. They get their strength bonuses and such, if they have any. And if they're going magic user, then they get, of course, their spell. So, what's the issue? The issue is this: hit points. Where the XP goes. Are you going to level them both in fighter and in magic user to level them up equally, or will they be kind of like they were in other editions of the game, where their progression would be split evenly between each one of the classes, and they would eventually level and be separate? They literally say that the max level for an elf is level 4 fighter and level 8 magic user. So they are going to have separate levels as it is. I think that an elf is always fluttering between the two. They don't stay stuck. They're not a dwarf per se. So what I'm saying is, they're fluttering between these two constantly. So I'm going to take the XP that is given to them and divide it in half. Half of it's going to go to fighter, and half of it's going to go to magic user. If I decided to go thief, it would be split 3 ways, and they would level up individually. All that. Now, how does hit points work? Okay, so hit points work like this. Hit points go up with, if you had so a D8 for the fighter, a D4 for the thief, and the magic user. Now, you could just encompass that into a D6, but you don't have a single level. You have 2 different levels. So my opinion is, you don't go to a D6. You just take it and you half it, just like you do the XP. Con bonus probably shouldn't be applied. I would say it goes to whatever the higher class is. So if, for whatever reason, which can't actually happen, I were to reach level 5 magic user before I reach level 4 magic user before I reach level 4 fighter, then it would get then. Now, what's going to happen is I'm going to level up faster in fighter, and my magic user is going to tag along until 5th level. And then when I turn 5th level magic user, still getting half my XP, mind you, because that's covered in a different section of the rules. I'm going to go ahead and get my con bonus again. If I were to have a con bonus, I would still get a D4 halved. I feel like that's always got to be the case. So 1 to 2 hit points, which is brutal, until you get to level 8, and then you're done. But you are a fighter magic user, and you are an elf, and those things are not anything to squash at. I mean, you are immune to paralyzation from ghouls, for example. That's pretty powerful. And by the way, you don't find that in the original Dungeons and Dragons books, any of them, including the supplement. I don't think you find that in the Chainmail supplement, which it literally says they get some immunities like sleep, charm, and this type of stuff. It doesn't say that. It just says go look at the Chainmail book. But if you were just to write that out, it would almost take about the same amount of space. But that is the way this game was wrote, and we'll just have to do the best with it as we can. Okay. So what does that mean? Right now, I'm going to roll a D4 and a D8. All right. First, we're going to roll with the D4. We have a 4. Can't really see that. I guess you can see that when you see this side. Interesting. Still learning how that works. So I'm going to put just a little bit 2 here, because that's what I get. I get 2. If I had rolled a 3, it'd been the same as rolling a 4. Here is for my fighter side. Reroll once. Nice. That is going to be for additional 4 more. So that gives me max hit points of 6. Okay, next up is going to be save throws. So this is something that they don't have elf on the save throw list. It's another one of those things where, which one do you use? If I'm going to do it the same as hit points, then what it really should be is probably either the worst of or the best of each class. I think I'm going to go with the best. So, first level fighter, first level magic user is a 12 or a 13. We'll go with the 12. Paralyzation would be a 13-14. So far we are siding with the fighter side. This time we're going to side with the magic user side. It's a 14-13. And for the breath weapon, we'll side with the fighter again. That is a 15. And we'll side with the magic user side for spells on a 15. Now, as this thing levels up, what's going to be interesting is where that falls. So, for example, an 8th level magic user will have... Boy, they are just really close to the same all the way through. There's very little difference. Okay. Worry about that in the future video. I was just for my purpose, I guess. All right, so now we got to roll for coins. Go ahead and close this out. Here's for how much gold they have. This one has. So we have 100 gold. Oh yes, we have XP bonus in both. So we have, I don't have to write it that way. That implies that I've got two different pool totals. I only have one, so I get a plus 10%. Now, how would that work? How would that work if you had plus 10 in one and plus 5 in the other? Boy, they really didn't make this simple. And I don't even think I got the right way. This is just a way. So we're going to have gold, silver, copper. Okay, 100. So we have 6 hit points. We have 100 gold. We're going to be going a caster route, starting. Let me see. I may not. It depends on what spell I know. Let me go ahead and pull up my spells. I am going to do a random on the first spell. Magic user, lower level spells. This is with the Greyhawk edition of spells. What's interesting is you don't get magic missile without it. So I'm going to roll a d12. Reroll 12s. 8. Sleep. Wow. Couldn't. Ah, got it. Couldn't get better than that. All right. So we got sleep first level. For sure is going to be going magic user. Not going to be jumping into melee with a whole lot of things. Actually is reduced to a dagger while magic user. So we're going to have a dagger. But he can use his armor. So, gear. We have chainmail. We'll go with shield. We'll go with dagger. We'll have a backpack, of course. Leather backpack. Kind of think it's funny that they had to include the word leather, and I have to include it every time I write it now. Why do I have to include it? Because it's funny they did. Not because I wouldn't understand that it was a leather and not a canvas or a polyurethane backpack. It's just funny to me. We'll get some wineskin times 2. We'll have a 10-foot pole. 50 foot of rope. Okay, guys, so I have spent a total of 52 gold. I had to take a quick break real quick. My wife came home. And what I have learned is that I can buy a few more things. So this is the only character I'll actually do on screen, I guess you could say, with the rest of the items. So we have a lantern. That's worth 10 gold. Flasks of oil. Times 2. Now, if you notice, when you see my other, the completed character sheets, I have several flasks of oil. There's more than just lighting lanterns for flasks of oil for the purpose of that. Okay. And that's worth 4 total. Then we'll have a small sack. Times 1. S rations. I have both S and I have I rations. Iron rations, standard rations. And that'll be times 1. Rations last 7 days. Standard is stuff that only lasts for a little bit. Iron rations last presumably years. And then we're going to have, and that was 5 gold for that. And then we have a small silver mirror. Okay. So why would you have a small silver mirror? There are 2 reasons why you'd have a mirror. It allows you to look around corners. It allows you to look at yourself. Or if you have to look at something in the reflection, you could look at it in the reflection, not just you. There's reasons why you would take silver. You could use it to identify whether a person was a lycanthrope, to see if they had a reaction to it. Also, in an absolute dire need, you could turn it into a weapon or melt it down, that back part at least, into a weapon. If you need, dip your arrows in and stuff like that. All right, so that's 15. So that's 10, 14, 15, 20. That's 45 on top of 52. All right, so that gives me with 3 gold left. And there was something I was just thinking of and I needed. Oh, I have a lantern, but I actually want to carry torches too, just in case. So I'm going to have 6 torches. And that's an additional gold. So it takes my 100 gold down to 2 gold. And now all my characters have spent all their things. Armor class is going to be 7. No, excuse me. It's going to be, that's 7. That's completely wrong. It's going to be 5 plus with shield be 4. All right. This, that go of 19. Let me get my +1 for strength and a D6 flat. There's no bonuses, unfortunately. I have no range currently because I'm going to be going in as a magic user. When I switch over to fighter, if I ever do, then I will be able to use those type of things. But it does very specifically say, if I read that right, that you can only use at least magical daggers while you are in mage form. So I'm going to go ahead and play it that I can use a dagger and I have a shield and armor, and we'll just leave the range to other people. But I don't think it would stop me from picking up a bow and shooting it, per se. Okay, so this one here is going to be about Edith Leofric. Leofric is a last name. It's a very common, popular name, kind of like Tiller. This one I did roll randomly, so there will be a lot of Leofrics that are going to be for the most part related, but they don't necessarily have the same dynasty type of nature to their last name. Edith is my female in this group. I rolled when I made the characters, and I ended up with one female. And she is actually the strongest character of the group, so that's interesting too. Okay, guys, so let's go ahead and get into where she's from and what her personality is. Okay, guys, if you haven't seen my first video with Stiggoth, go ahead and watch that, and you understand what all this is over here with the Edith and Anathemathus. And then we have phobias down here, which we'll get into later when I'm doing the gloves on, like origin adventure, to kind of build the personality or round it out, shall we say. This is not part of the original Dungeons and Dragons. This is something that I've kind of done that's sort of the 50 years of polish. This is also my own thing. We'll go from there. Okay, so 4, 5, and 6 is going to be positive. I have 4 different categories. First category is going to be social. So we have a 6, and we're doing a number 6 on the social positive one. Loquacious and cultured. Look at the spelling of that. Loquacious is not a word I spell very often. Yeah, see, I've already got a misspelling. It has an S, it's just not there. Okay, this is a positive. Next one is a 3, so it's going to be a negative mental trait with a 6. All right, it's going to be another dogmatic and fixed. Okay. Next one's going to be a physical positive one. And number 1, which would be attractive and cute. Wow, that's ironic. The woman who's built with an 1852 strength ends up being attractive and cute. Somehow, she manages to balance all those muscles and appearance all in the same package, which is impressive. We're going to have a negative number 3. She is careless or self-indulgent. So maybe she's very fond of herself, which personally for me would be hard to be around. All right, now let's find out where she's at. So she comes from 6. 6 is from Brigton's Rest. So we now have 2 from Brigton's Rest. So Stigeth and her will both be from Brigton's Rest. That means that they will know each other and have some sort of interaction with each other. So what that means is that when I build their story, their personalities, they will either like or dislike each other. They will have some sort of rivalry maybe, or, maybe she keeps beating him in arm wrestling contests because she's stronger. They'll know each other's family, this type of thing. All things to build sort of a better personality or group is the whole plan. Okay, so next thing will be the Avenger. Okay, guys, so now we're going to get to the personal section for Edith. Edith is the human female fighter who's like 34 to 38 years of old. Is a mother, actually has a son or a daughter that's a guard. We haven't determined that yet. We'll go ahead and see what type of personality she has. So far, I've done Osgard and Stigeth. If you've seen the rest of the Patreon videos, you'll see how those have turned out. Hopefully, Edith will be more successful than the other 2 have been so far. Okay. All right, going to my little binder adventure. I'm going to pull out the Edith here. So what has Edith got going on? Edith is loquacious or cultured for her social things. She has a negative mental. She's either dogmatic or fixed, kind of like Stigeth is, so they're similar in that way. She's either attractive or cute for the physical side of things. I'm going to go ahead and say she's not cute. She's 34, she's 38. I just don't see that. I just think she's attractive. She has that womanly attractiveness about her. And then for her spiritual, she's either careless or self-indulgent. Now let's just see how this kind of plays out a little bit, and we'll go from there. Okay. So here is the mind map. There's an ogre on the bridge. Is she going to favor the fortune, or is she going to go more towards luck? The question is, will she charge the ogre? Well, she just goes straight fight. She is a fighter. She is very strong. She has a potential to kill that ogre outright, quickly. No, she is not going to go the Sonya or the Conan route. She's going to go more of a tactical route, at least. And that's not like a heck no. Like this would be, like that would be a heck no where she go the luck side of things. This is sort of an in-between. So, is she going to try and cross the river and get across to the other side by swimming across? No. Well, it's kind of close. I would say there's more to that. I'm going to say if it's no, I'm going to see here. Would she cross downstream so she didn't float past the ogre? Maybe. So maybe if she had some way to do it, to secure herself, she would do it. Is she willing to try and bribe the ogre? No, that's absolutely not. She is not facing that ogre. She has no desire to face that ogre. Is she going to try and lure the ogre somehow off of the bridge? No. Well, maybe. So we're getting a lot of malaise here. Let's see here. Well, Osgard used the campfire. Can she think of a way with her 11 intelligence to lure him off of that? Not necessarily the same way. No, she is not smart enough to think of a way to get the ogre off of there. So she's having a problem thinking of a way to get the ogre off of there. She's a human of moderate intelligence. She doesn't have a whole lot of bonus languages yet. So what else could she do here? Could she try and scare the ogre? Not really interested in that either. Okay, so I'm getting a kind of a really just I'm getting kind of like from the dice that whatever's on the other side is not worth the struggle. Is it worth risking the maiden to go way around and take the next bridge? No, she knows that. So what could I do? I'm kind of at a crossroads. Maybe she'll go up the river, throw something across like a grappling hook. She has that. And try and tie off to that. Okay, so that's what she's going to do. I'm going to give her a to hit roll. We're going to say it's an AC of 8. It's the same as a shield on a non-armor subject. She scored an 11. She also has, by the way, a +3, so that is easily a hit. Luck for it to be secure. We are lucky, and I give a little +3 for the luck there because she's really able to steer it. Now let's give her a strength check to cross the river. And even with a 17, we are good because she has an 18, thankfully. So she struggles, mostly because she probably forgot to take off her armor. But she gets across the bridge from the ogre, doesn't have to fight it, so that is good. She gets to the camp. She gets to the other side. Can she figure out a way to get to where the orcs are? She is a mother of a guard. I never actually determined what her job was. I realized this afterwards. So I'm going to pull that up real quick. Is she a crafter? Does she work in the inn or the rest home type of place? Okay, so she works over there. So in as a waitress? No. As a cook? Yes. So she is a cook at the end. As well as being a mother of a guard. Okay, so probably doesn't have any tracking abilities, but let's go ahead and do a disadvantage. Actually, we are successful. So she does have, for whatever reason in her past, the ability to track. So let's give her a wisdom roll. She rolled a 16. She does not have a 16. But she does have a 14, so that is not a terrible miss. So let's give her a chance to find out that she is lost. Does she know that she's not necessarily lost? Let's give her a D6 to see if she gets lost. She gets lost, so now we have a real problem. Can she find her way back? No. Can she find her way to the... well, I wouldn't say. She finds the river and knows which way to go. Does she find the river? Yes. Okay. So she loses half a day. That could affect the maiden. She gets back to the river, knows which directions to go, comes back to the road. This time, again, she's going to go ahead and try and find the orc's tracks. This time she is successful. She just went the wrong direction. She gets to the cave, and she sees that there are 2 orcs with spears guarding the cave entrance. Does she choose to fight? It is just 2 orcs. Yes, she chooses to fight. She's going to... Does she just unleash a battle roar and go? No. So she's going to apparently try and get close and to then surprise them. Yes, try and surprise them with white being yes. Yes. All right. Going to give her a dexterity check. Dex is an 8. So she fails to surprise the orcs, and it goes directly into initiative. I'm not even going to roll a surprise check for the orcs. She's not surprised because she knows it. I'm going to give each one, purple is orc, a d6 roll. They actually both are armed with spears because that is what she used. The orcs go first in melee. The first orc, okay, she is wearing plate mail and a shield, which means that the spear needs a 12 to hit. So she is really proficient at taking these guys out if they don't kill her. First one misses, second one misses. Okay, so she is swiped at twice, and they do not get her. She's going to come back and go back into them. She rolled a 7. They're wearing leather. Spear versus leather needs an 8. However, she gets +3 from strength, so that hits. I'm going to stop rolling these because I'm seeing I'm leaving all these little red marks on here, which means I'm destroying my dice at the same time, which is kind of sad. So the first one is going to go ahead and take 5 points of damage. Orcs have 1 hit dice. That one had 4 hit points, and it dies. So she runs that orc through, stabbing it against the wall, crumpling the rocks and earth behind it, and drops the orc off of the weapon. This is going to be the morale save for the other one, as this very large, obviously proficient, fully plate mailed up fighter comes up and just skewers his friend. 8 is enough for the orc to decide to hightail out of it, and he's going to run. So because she fought the orc, she evades the trap. Goes in there. There is a leader. He's a bigger orc. And he is wearing a chainmail and a shield. Is he alerted to the combat sounds outside? I'm going to give this a 2d6 roll. High is good for Edith, low is bad. So this is kind of in between. I'm going to have it drop to just a wisdom check. Above his wisdom for sure. He doesn't have a 13 wisdom. So he is unaware of Edith's entry into the cave. Edith's going to know about him because he's going to have torches for the maidens in particular, and he is probably talking to the maiden, probably saying cruel and unusual things to her. Let's see if it is too late. On 2d6, hoping for high. We'll say that he has injured the maiden, but he has not killed her, and that she can still be saved at this point in time. Does he choose to just rush the orc leader, or does she choose to do some other tactic? She chooses not just to rush him. He is wearing better armor. She knows she's going to need more to hit him, and he's bigger and looks stronger. Is she going to try and bribe him? She's on the fence on that. Is she going to try and scare him? Maybe like throw the head of the first orc into the room and tell him to run? Yes. All right, so she goes over, cuts the head off of the first orc, and cuts off one of the hands, or both the hands off of that orc. And from where he cannot see her, she takes the head and she throws it into the room, having it roll across the room. I'm going to give it a strength check to see how impressive it was. That is definitely a good roll. And then she steps into the room and announces herself, leave now and keep your head, or maybe your hands. And she'll toss both the hands onto the floor. Now, mind you, she's a large woman with obviously big muscles and plate mail, and a bloody spear. Does the orc leader decide it's not? This isn't the fight he wants. I'm going to say it's going to be a charisma check on her part. Rolled an 8. Her charisma is a 7, so no, and it will lead directly into a fight. Purple is the leader. Leader gets to go first. He is going at her with a sword. Rolled an 8. She has plate mail and shield. Sword. He needs an 11. He rolled an 8. I'm giving that guy a +1 on the dice for strength. That is not enough. She's going to go back into him. She rolled a 9 plus 3 is going to be 12, which is plenty. It's going to be a d6 plus 3. Does 7 points of damage. Does this orc leader have 7 hit points? He has 8. So it's going to go to the next round. We roll initiative. That's going to be cocked. She goes first. She stabs him again with the spear. That is going to be a 4 plus 3 is 7 against chainmail and shield. She needs a 10, so she misses. He's going to go back into her. He got a 9, and he gets +1 for 10, but I think he needs an 11. Yes. Wow, he needs an 11. So one more round into the combat. She goes first. That is 5 plus 3 is 8, and I think that's what she needs. No, she needs a 10. Hit attack back. That's going to be a 9. An 8 plus 1 is 9. So again, we're going to go into the third round of combat back and forth. She goes first this time. This time she gets a 9 plus 3 is going to be 12. That easily hits. She's going to do 5 more points of damage. He had a single hit point left. This means that she absolutely guts him with the spear. She runs it from end to end, basically to her hand, and then she reaches beyond him and pulls it out the other side. And the orc leader falls to the ground, a bloody heap. Okay. The maiden is then untied and rescued. Is she grateful, or does she think maybe you should have been here sooner? She is grateful either way. I'm going to give her a charisma check. She fumbles it by 1. Not terrible. Now the question is, will she go for the loot, or will she just take the win and leave? Purple is leaves. She just takes the win and leaves. Okay. So Edith rescues no reward. No bonus. Was hit. No, was not hit. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and see what that means here in a minute. So Edith is the first one to succeed. She did it in a very non-Sonia way. And I'll be right back with what that means. Okay, guys, so this is the last part for Edith. As you saw, she actually made it through. She did take the sort of the safe way. She didn't put a lot more risk into it. As an older person with a child, I could see that being probably more of a thing. I also see that as she saved someone, so she wanted to get out of there. Out of the ones that she had rolled for personality traits, I ended up going with cultured, dogmatic, attractive, because I don't really see someone of her status being cute. She is a little bit careless. I saw that too as I was running her through the personality gauntlet funnel, whatever we're going to call this. So yeah, anyways, so she didn't get any scars, she didn't get any extra bonus, whatever, but she did get an anathema. That would be she will not let anyone hurt a child.
That's going to be her thing. She's going to have that motherly trait to her, shall we say. And her edict is that she will always do the hard work. So if there's two ways to go, one's harder than the other, but probably gives slightly better results, she's going to do the harder work. That comes from she spent the last 20 years, probably 25 years, working hard to get the things that she has. So she has that harder work ethic than some of the other ones. Anyways, guys, so got a little bit of maturity in this group now. We'll have to see how this works out. I hope she does really well. I look forward to seeing her at the more epic levels, per se. I think it'd be really cool. If you guys want to see more videos like this, check me out over at the Let's Plays, so the actual plays, we're going to call it, over on DM Zone on YouTube, or look for the next video over here on Patreon. All right, guys, have a great day. Bye.